Where
Yeah,
did
so
you
that's what yeah, that was when, yeah,
where did you end up going to undergrad?
Jackson State University. Yeah, but
Nice.
after I stint in the military, a lot of people don't realize that at 17 I went to the Army actually.
Wow.
Despite being like valedictorian, doing well in ACT, no one told me that, college was an option. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like I've done a lot of school talks, to kids at different levels. And I can't for the life of me remember anybody coming to talk to us about what they do.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just trying nothing stuck out. I was like, man, it was no artists, no scientists. They didn't have anybody to want to tell us like, hey, you can do this, what I'm doing, that kind of thing. But who did show up were recruiters.
Huh.
The recruiters
That's
showed
very
up. You know what I'm
telling.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is right before Desert Storm.
Wow.
So I go in the military. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I had an accident where my third metatarsal was snapped pretty much in half, and I had to do what's called an open reduction and internal fixation, which is basically uh cut they trim your bone, they put a plate in there and they attach it with screws. And then after that, I was med boarded out. But I was in long enough to become a veteran, which was, good. And then because of the fact that my high school made you take the ACT, you know,
Yeah.
even though no one's telling you to go to college, I scored really high on it. And because I was valedictorian, which is number one placed, I got a scholarship to Jackson State, actually.
Okay.
So I was working, so I actually signed my scholarship papers as I was convalescing from my surgery.
Is that your back?
No, it's my foot.
If I was thinking
Yeah,
that
my
was your
foot.
foot, but I didn't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
guess.
metatarsal. Yeah, yeah, the tarsal bones. So yeah, so my third, yeah, and I was actually not supposed to be able to like walk correctly, but actually after, I guess because I was so young,
Yeah.
healed up pretty well.
How'd you
So
like Jackson State?
I love Jackson State. Yeah, I loved it. It was like, man, I can't even explain it. We're talking about from 89 to 93. That's like
Big
golden
pick.
era. My, yeah, that too. Yeah, I did go to a couple of those.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
But yeah, that was like prime HBCU era, man. Jackson State was like the spot to be. I mean, we were like, we were in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I'm not a big sports fan, but I knew it was a big deal. We're number one in
Mhm.
football, I think basketball, and also like believe it or not, golf, actually. It's a fantastic golf team. It's actually coached by Eddie Payton, like Walter Payton's brother.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's
uh and
crazy.
also too that year, was with the 50th year of Motown. And so our band, my roommate was on TV. They actually opened up the CBS like 50th anniversary Motown celebration. That was Jackson State, because we always play Get Ready, because here I come. That's actually like the standard. So it was fantastic. And I was talking about like it felt like you were at this big like family. It's just always just family. We had a lot of fun. I was in the WEB Du Bois like honors college. So it's always like smart black folk from all over the country like doing everything together. It was just wonderful.
It sounds amazing. I really wish I went to as you know, I went to CCAC and then I just got tired of being in that space. I'll just put it that way. And
Yeah.
I ended up going to Fisk for a year. And I'm telling you, man, there's no better feeling than being in an environment where it sort of all levels out and you
Yeah.
kind of get into this understanding that. And I was just telling somebody this the other day, if someone doesn't like me, it's because they didn't like me. It wasn't because I was black.
Right.
There's no
Exactly.
question. We're all black. So you just
Yep.
don't jive with me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's no other stuff. Yeah. Feel
Yeah.
you.
And just you
Oh, it
meet
was a good time.
all walks of life. And yeah, we had a pretty good football team, but it's just the environment on the campus, like, it's just like I said, chef's kiss, but they weren't taking on my unit. So I went back to California and finished up in 6 years instead of like eight. You know what I mean? So I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I need to get this degree done. But no, going to HBCU is I recommend it highly.
I do too, man. It was like one of the best things ever, really.
So, do you think that what are my next question? Do you think that all art is political or has to be political
I
or
don't know if
is
it
it just
necessarily has to be political. I think it's very difficult to make something that's apolitical.
right?
And even when someone says, well, it's not about politics, it's like that's a stance.
Yeah.
Being apolitical is actually a political stance. It's impo you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So um I'm of the opinion, I'm very much from the kind of Baldwinian standpoint, where, when James Baldwin said, the artists are here to disturb the peace,
Mm,
I'm really down with that, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
The artist is the first line of defense, and also like a channeler of like societal norms and societal issues and societal woes, societal hopes. Yeah, so I think it's our job to be political, actually.
No, I kind of agree with his. I kind of lean a little further left. If you're black and conscious, you're gonna be angry.
Yeah, 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 yeah. To be black and conscious in America is to live in a constant state of rage. Some of my
Yeah,
favorite quotes. I actually
yeah,
did a poster, yeah, that
yeah.
says that. Yeah. No, that's real. So, I feel like we're burdened with the I think we're supposed to be fighting against oppression. We're supposed to be bringing joy. We're storytellers and kind of magicians to a certain degree, shamans even.
And even personal politics too, right? So if you're
Yeah.
going through an idea of self-discovery, I think that's political in the fact that once you share it and people can give their opinions on it or expand on it and have a conversation around it, like you
Yeah.
invite the audience to
Yeah.
have this discussion, I think that's political too.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. So yes, I think that I mean, I'm very adamant about the politics. The older I get, the more angry I get. So, and we're at a parent point now where, I think we can't afford not to be political, honestly.
Sure. No, I and I also love David Banner or the Hulk. And my secret to being the Hulk is I'm always angry.
Right. I'm always angry. Exactly. I'm like, yo, it's just right under the surface. You
Don't have to turn it
that
on.
constant state of rage, man. I'm like, yo, I can feel that, because, yeah.
So do you think there's one thing that we did as a society or even personally during the pandemic, during lockdown that you think we should continue to keep doing?
That's interesting. Huh.
For me, it's wearing a mask. Since I have, medical issues, I always wear a mask no matter what. I don't care if I get stares, but that's my one thing.
Got you, got you. There was see that's a difficult one because I want to think about like the stuff that actually was good about being like quiet. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a point where like it ran through all of the media and you actually like sit with yourself and actually connect with your family more.
Yeah,
Um, it did show that certain corporate spaces didn't have to exist because we don't have to be in all these office buildings and stuff. We can actually have a more flexible life. You're just making us do this because you pay for this damn office building.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And some downside stuff that I definitely think we should like do better. It's like I really don't like the idea of like public spaces being like thrown away. Like I love movie theaters and concerts and stuff like that. And you know, have a whole generation of kids who don't know how to interact with each other.
Right,
So
right,
sad. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think I did blossom as an online teacher to a certain degree. There's certain aspects I did enjoy, but for the most part, I still very much value like human connection.
for sure.
Yeah,
No, I do love it, and but I also think one big takeaway for me was to be able to connect with people
yeah,
from other countries, other time zones that maybe I wouldn't have the time or ability to talk to. So
right.
Zoom kind of afforded me that. So do you have any sort of words of encouragement or inspiration, like maybe even something you would say to yourself as a young artist, but to a young artist coming up, what would you say to encourage them?
I would say learn more about money.
Okay,
And learn more about being a about client work and learn more about the business, just as a given. But I always like trust your instincts. But my whole thing is like also don't stop working. You know what I'm saying? Like don't stop practicing, don't start getting better, and don't expect people to do the work for you. I would say those are different things. You know, then I would say like, hey, understand what's going on with the business side of this, but also know that you're talented, but you can be even more talented if with the more practice that you get in. Yeah.
right. So, what's one creative, speaking of talent, what's one creative thing that maybe you wanted to try over the years and you haven't tried, like that could, in other genres, even like acting or pottery or,
Oh, that's interesting.
sculpture?
It's funny because I don't know if I necessarily would want to do it, but I actually can carry a tune.
Hmm.
And so I almost became a voice major, and I'm really into music, and songwriting and stuff like that. It's an aspect of my creative endeavors that I think I had to kind of step away from a little bit
Right.
because of just art being like the main source of my expression. But I do like
Now I
uh,
want to hear you sing.
not on this, man. I'm like, come on. Anyway, but no, I was in a gospel group, in
Oh,
college. I was like, I was like super religious in undergrad and kind of grew out of that a little bit for different reasons.
mm,
But yeah, I've always enjoyed music, and music really like is a central theme to a lot of my work, So if anything, that acting is interesting, I don't know. I think right now I'm really interested in screenwriting and stuff like that. Box of Bones, for instance, has been, option, but we're having some stuff jumping off of it. So it's like producing and stuff is something I'm interested in.
amazing. No, I can see you have a cameo role in a major Marvel movie. Professor Jennings.
If they use like Ghostlight and then that I created, they should use him for something, anyway. So
Hey, no, I mean as you. I can see you in a just a 5 minute a snippet where you're teaching a lecture in one of those movies.
we'll see, hopefully. Anyway.
So do you have a daily routine, whether that's art making or me and Stacy were talking about exercising every day? It's just something that you do.
I don't I should do better about it. I'm trying to get back into meditation. I used to meditate when I was much younger. I do move around a lot. Like I try to go to bed at a decent hour and I eat pretty decent. But I get up super early sometimes to work. I'm the first point of contact for my son, so I get up at the latest will be 6 o'clock actually, every day and start my regimen, which is like um, taking care of the dog, walking the dog, feeding, putting his lunch together, getting him ready, you
Right.
know, brushing his teeth. Everything's about Jackson in the morning. And then I kind of sort of settle into my day. I do actually, it's funny because I do walk the dog. He likes walking around the neighborhood. The kid keeps me in shape, actually,
Running
because
behind, yeah,
got to catch up with him.
nice.
And I do want to get back in the gym, and start getting back into shape a little bit more. But for the most part, yeah, I do move around enough to like, you know, keep things going. So,
Nice. So, if you can have your and this is also an interesting answer from various artists, what would your like ideal art studio setup look like? Like location and all the amenities. What would your like just dream art studio? What would
oh
that
man, it's funny. I like more urban, like I would guess you would call it bohemian spaces. I love
be?
coffee shops, stuff like that. I like having ambient music. So I would almost try to emulate the feel of a coffee shop,
Nice,
Put chatter in the background, it's a little bit of, the music is cool, you have a lot of really comfy places to sit.
nice.
I think like something like that could be really cool for a studio for me, especially because something that could oscillate between like making visual art and writing, because I do like a lot more writing these days than I used to,
Nice. No,
So,
Stephen, you and I were talking about he'd have a DJ, always have a DJ on deck. So that sounds
so,
amazing.
yeah, I don't know if I could do that, but I'm like, I definitely like a, having a coffee is good though.
So, and my last question, so is there one art supply, maybe art book or some, thing that you use regularly, or maybe even a new thing that you've discovered that you want to share with folks?
Hmm. One of my favorite apps actually is it's a Adobe app. It's called Capture.
Okay.
Yeah, Adobe Capture is a really great tool. It works through your camera phone, your phone and your camera. And what it does is like you point it at anything and it'll actually like give you what the color scheme is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, and you can so basically it was very helpful with these parable books, because you can literally like steal or sample or borrow a color scheme of anything that it can see. So what it does is like you can see it moving, like it picks the colors and then you can actually send those colors to Photoshop if
Oh,
you have
wow.
yeah, so you can actually just import that directly into your to your database and stuff. So that's a really cool tool, you know.
That's awesome. I've never even heard of it. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's called Adobe Capture. Yeah, it's changed your life. And you can straight up like point at anything, and
Oh,
it'll just give you the basic like color schemes from it.
dope. All right, John, thank you so much. Shout out your social media. Where can people find you? Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky.
Yeah, I'm on all those things, but the thing is the if you go to my website, it's a good place to start. It's
Okay,
johnjenningsstudio.com.
perfect.
johnjenningsstudio.com. You can find out information about what I'm up to, my books are published, but also the books through Megascope, which is our line of books from Abrams Comic Arts. We've been around for almost 5 years now, and we just put out our 10th book like, a year ago, something like that. So yeah, we're all that's connected to like John Jennings art. I mean
Oh,
John Jennings Studio, sorry.com.
I'll put
John
that in
Jennings.
the description for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's a good place because it's got links and stuff like that too.
Sweet. Well, this has been amazing. I appreciate you taking the time out. You've been very generous with your time, and I appreciate you, especially over the years, just thinking, considering me for projects. It's been such a blessing and so humbling. So thank you so much again for sitting down talking to me.
My
Um,
pleasure, Abby. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you. All right, thank you so much.